What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Back Your Play with Q. I'm your host, as always, Rich Quinones. We are powered by our wonderful friends over at Play It Again Sports. They're open 7 days a week. Use sports equipment and more located on 1450 Clements Bridge Road in Deffert, New Jersey. And you can go online shopping. You walk in. I was just in about a week or so ago. So many tees, hats, cleats, weights. I mean, everyone knows I love to work out. They got dumbbells. They got everything you need from a workout standpoint, golf equipment, and so much more. 7 days a week, as I mentioned. Also, give them a call, 856-579-8250. And as the weather is still nice and somewhat warm and a touch of chilly, you got World Series Game 1, you got the NFL, you got the NBA. We welcome in our good friend, the prop professor Shine, who is kind enough to join us as he typically does every week. And listen, we'll start, if you want, with the NBA and your Philadelphia 76ers. I guess we're not going to take a flyer on Embiid as far as MVP, because apparently this cat's only going to play about 50 something odd games and no back to backs.
Yeah, I guess that basically disqualifies him. Uh, I guess the first reaction was like everybody's is like, what in the world's going on? What are the Sixers thinking? And what's Embiid thinking? And I sent a bunch of tweets out, as you remember, for the Olympics. I think I sent at least three. And, with heavy snark on all of them, of course, about, hey, uh, he can go get an Olympic gold or play in the Olympics or whatever, but he's going to get absolutely, destroyed if they get knocked out in the second round again, or
Yep.
he doesn't play a lot of games, or I was still in the blank of uh, of the common knowledge about how he's going to get crushed with that. I thought that they were smart enough to realize that was going to kind of be the optics of the situation, and he would at least play uh, the home opener, especially with Paul George
You would
being
think.
open. I cannot understand. I can understand the load management because what they've done the last 2 years hasn't worked. You know, remember he had that stretch. Was I believe it was last year where no his MVP year where from January to like March he was just incredible. He was just a borderline triple double. It's just, 48 points and 20, and the thinking among Sixers fans or NBA fans or our area was kind of like, well, is he going to wear himself out? This is February. I mean, it's all
Right,
nice.
right.
And I think he went through a little bit of a stretch of that last year too, where it's just like you're looking, you're like, wow, they can't stop him. And then he's beat up for the playoffs. So Darren Moore is smart enough to figure out, what can we do to, especially with the way the playoff structure is, what can we do to kind of save him for the playoffs without looking, completely idiotic. I don't know if there's a way to do it. I hearken all the way back to when Bird had the bad back and, he couldn't make road trips. And if that was kind of fast forward to today, I'm sure he gets some criticism. It wouldn't be for me because the guy's about to retire, and you can get just home games out of him, and he had an obvious problem. The big difference here, of course, is Bird had already gotten 3 titles.
That's
If he
exactly.
didn't have any titles,
And
it's like
Bird didn't come out and say, I'm not going to play back to backs,
if it's
right? I
Dan
mean,
Issel saying that, it's a little bit different.
yeah,
Uh, uh, Embiid is a top player, and I guess the best strategy is okay. Let's try to save him. You could do any of that. You throw all that in a pot. Whatever you get out of it, you get out of it. You still have to play in the open because I'd even err on the fact. Okay, if you look through the East, Rich, look through the East. I mean, we know who's going to make the playoffs. I mean, the West is wide open. The East is not. They're basically playing an entire season for seeding.
that's
And
my whole point exactly.
yeah,
Yep.
and Maury knows it. Every GM knows it. From Riley on down, they all know this is just a seeding thing. And okay, yeah, can you get the 1 seed? Oh, that'd be great. You're going to kill yourself to get the 1 seed when you get when you can coast into a 5, 6 seed. And what's the mathematical possibility that you could fall into the play-in? You don't want to be in the play-in, obviously. So it's this kind of mismatch of okay strategy of how can I get between non-play in it and then the second seed. And then in a perfect world, you also want to avoid the Celtics
Correct.
in the early rounds if you can. And that's kind of what they're thinking. But if you're going to do that, my strategy would be, okay, we'll low management Embiid. Who cares if he doesn't play on the road against the Wizards? I mean, it sucks for the Wizards, but uh, I don't care. And, what about if he goes up to Auburn Hills? Is anybody going to play if he plays in Detroit? No, I don't care. I don't care if he plays on the road in
I think
Chicago.
it's the optics, though, the lack of
It
transparency by the
is.
Sixers,
It
right,
is.
over the years, right? Markel Fultz, Ben Simmons, and beat several times. Yeah, the head coach saying
I
one
think
thing.
they're not allowed to come out and say it. So we have to kind of get this guessing game, but we've both followed this long enough and adjusted to what the new reality is of these games. The easiest fix would be just play 65 games, but they're never going to do that. And it's something that, ironically, I said 20 years ago, based on, hey, listen, you remember what years Jordan led the league in scoring average?
Yep.
Average, everything in NBA is averaging, rebounding average, assist. Nobody cares who has the total amount of points. Nobody ever cared. They couldn't tell you what the number is. But this is done obviously for money. Uh, and what happens if you expand the rosters? Like I think, yeah, you almost have to do in the NFL if they go to 18 games. Now it comes down to, you're telling the owners to pay more money. I don't know if there's enough talent in the NBA. Does it matter if you have 15 guys on the roster? You have a bunch of Bronny James sitting on the bench. I don't know if that helps. So this is the best alternative is you say, you know what, he's going to play 40 games. We're going to pick the 40 games to play. Uh, you know, Clippers are going to deal with it with Leonard.
Yep.
He's not going to play for a while. If Giannis stubs his toe, you're not going to see him in January and February. And this is just the
But here's the
structure.
difference. Both of those players you just mentioned have rings, and Embiid also is coming off
Oh yeah,
a
sure.
$193 million contract extension. But listen, it's just so
You're
all
right.
about
That's
the
a big
optics.
deal. If Embiid
Yeah,
had a ring, not a lot, I mean, Philly fans would still find a way to
sure.
to get on him. But me and you wouldn't. Common sense, we would say, he does have a ring. A lot of this backlash is because he doesn't have a ring. Uh, no matter what we speculate and how we bounce around with it, the bottom line is going to be they're going to be seated somewhere between 3 and 6. The Sixers. It's just, that's just what's going to happen. And in the East, and the Celtics, we'll segue right into the betting. So last year I had a lot of Celtics futures. I will say I think I did get a little bit lucky because the Bucks got knocked out early, but that's the name of the
Yep.
game. They had a nice easy path, and if you have Celtics futures to come out of the East to win the whole thing. Uh, that's a nice, it's a nice thing. I think it balances out my unlucky with all my Lions futures last year, and they're up 2 touchdowns and Gibbs fumbles, and then away we go. But so this year I kind of came right back. I know how hard it is to repeat, but I do think it's hard to quantify, but I do think it matters a little bit to have the entire team not like resting on their laurels as the cliche. Is that what it
Agreed.
is? Resting on your laurels? Is that what it is?
Resting on
I
your
don't know.
laurels. Correct.
What in the world does that mean? I don't know, but I'll just say it. Resting on laurel, whatever. So they're not doing that because they feel they have a chip on their shoulder because of the Olympics. Brown didn't get picked, and Tatum is going to be like a man possessed, especially as you get into the playoffs. I believe if you need that extra oomph, uh, and I do think that Celtics organization, top to bottom, they're not happy with one. If I was involved in the organization, I would say, anybody can win one.
Sure.
You're the Boston Celtics.
Win
You're
multiple.
about legacy building.
Yep.
So you want to look back 20 years from now and say, hey, that core of Celtics guys won 3 titles in 4 years, kind of thing. And I do think that that they can do it. It's weird the things that pop in your head. I think back to the Elway Broncos when they finally got Terrell Davis, and a lot what's lost or what's forgotten uh, in those years of they had the core. Atwater was still in the defense, and uh, Elway was toward the end of his career, but they get Terrell Davis. They had the really good offensive line. Shanahan's a good. They were the top seed the year that Brunell made that famous scramble and upset them
That was 95.
in 95. Or was it 96?
No, 95, I think it was Coughlin's first year.
I think it is. But either way, remember the iconic play. If you don't, go Google it. Tell your
Yep.
fans, go Google it. Because it was, I mean, they're like 10-point underdogs in this game. And they were the top seed. They played unbelievably well all year. They get bounced. And then everybody kind of, forgot about it a little bit. The next year, they got a little bit of injuries. But I remember I looked at it the next year as having basically the same core team. They get to the end of the year, they lose a couple tough games. They had to play all the games on the road, if
Yep.
you remember. They went to Pittsburgh and Kansas City had a really good team. They beat Kansas City. And then I remember having some futures on Denver simply because they were, I said, when they get all their guys back, they're basically the same team. And then they win against the Packers that year, and then the next year they're back to that 95/96 form where they're the top seed, and then they hammer Atlanta. This kind of reminds me uh, uh, you know of what situation's going on now. Like I bring that as an example of a team that kind of was top and then they forgot. I could see the Celtics being that because remember they got bounced by the Heat. They're down
Yep.
3-0.
Yep.
And everybody kind of like, well, they lost, and then they come back with that same core. They run roughshod over everybody. I get they didn't play the Bucks, but they would have beat the Bucks. And now you're in that kind of third year. So this equivalent would be like, that year where the Broncos beat Atlanta. And when I kind of was looking at the futures, it felt like that.
Hmm.
And so I have a lot of the East, and it's funny because after they crunched the next in the first game, you wouldn't expect futures to move that much, but they actually did a little bit on a few sites. So and almost like, oh my God, what is it? And ridiculousness of them shooting all those threes too. What should happen? If that guy, what happened years ago? You guys, it would get crunched.
Oh,
Somebody
of
would hammer
course.
somebody on purpose.
Of
Like, what
course.
are they doing shooting 900 through? Who cares? I mean, who cares?
The NBA,
But
man.
it is the NBA. They're going for that record in that game was silly. But even if they didn't, they're 20 points better than the Knicks. And I think this is what's kind of going to happen throughout the league. They might even be going for, if they get like, the 77 Trailblazers when they run out like 45-4 or
Right,
something,
right.
they might buckle down and try to go for the right. They might not sit anybody,
Yeah.
I
That's a
don't
good point.
know. But either way, that's what I did. Last year, I had a bunch of unders. I thought Lakers total last year was way too high. It was like 50. Golden State was like 50. Uh, I had tons of unders with them. The only one of my losers was the Cavaliers over, which lost by like 2 games or something. Uh, so I didn't find as great a value this year, but I still have under in Memphis this year. So I got a 43 and a half, I believe. And then I had under in Sixers last year. I won. 2 years ago, I lost it. This year, I got a 50 and a half with not that much juice. Some places it was 125. I got a minus 115. 50 and a half is a high number.
Yeah.
I think it's a decent bet. Uh, but a lot of and then the West is a little bit more difficult, but I do have under in Memphis. I do think one of the two of Golden State or the Lakers, both their totals are around 43, 44. I don't think I don't think Golden State. A lot of people are higher on Golden State, because of Wiggins. He did for game one, he looked great, but I don't trust Wiggins. If he doesn't play a whole year really well, they might not make the playoffs again. I mean, but I didn't get involved with that. I did have an over. I had over in Houston. I got a 40 juiced and a 40 and a half. So I liked them last year. I didn't play it. If you did miss, if you don't get a chance to play that future, of course they'll repost lines as the time goes on. Maybe you get lucky and the Rockets are come out 3-7 or something. You might get even a better number. But I like the Rockets as a team. I'm hoping I get some value in them, throughout the year. But that's what I did as far as that. I mean, uh, and we're now a third of this way in NFL.
Yep.
So you can take a look at your futures now and lament, like I had Vikings under 7.5. It was, and hindsight is better than 2020. Hindsight is Will Clark vision, 2010. It's awful to think now. It was basically a play. I didn't think the whole NFC North. I didn't think everybody would be good.
As good as they are. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought somebody would get
Kind of come
back to
back
the
down to
top.
earth.
And the team I chose was the Vikings. And the thing that's frustrating for me because it runs against what I normally do. I don't like to do back-to-back teams, especially teams that did not make the playoffs. There's so much parity in the NFL. If I don't play over in those games, I won't play it at all. I'd be the system I kind of use. I would be more apt to fade Green Bay.
Yep.
With the way injuries are,
Right.
the way the scheduling
Yep.
is, I might even play, under lines, under 10 and a half and get back, plus juice. But as it turns out, all the juice, is in the
NFC
north,
North.
and
Yep.
it's kind of a
Bears.
shame. Now I'm not dead yet with the Vikings. Their loss last night helps,
How about the
but
total 48 and a half, and you get the BS, the no, no call on the face mask, and then boom, a
that can't
safety seals the
happen.
deal.
That can't happen. That call cannot get
No,
missed in the
I agree.
NFL.
What's the
Now, I
point of
don't
going to
know.
New York if you can't review it then? Like, I don't get it.
I, I mean, are they afraid of being like the NCAA where NCAA like college football where it's like that LSU Ole Miss game. I mean, I walked my dogs. I think I went to the store. I came back. I think I watched all the Godfathers, and the game was still on. I was like, what in the world is going on? Because a lot of times I had these on delay, and I'll watch like the fourth quarter to see what team do. I was like, what in the world is going on? And then I go back and watch the replay. It's like every targeting. They're going to have to switch it when they give a coach's challenge because these you can't have games going 4.5 hours, or can you? I don't know. I'm sure the people that
Nah.
were in the stadium were happy.
But you can't also have every drive on a third down, the announcer say there's no flag or every drive extended because of a penalty. That's just, it's not, it's a bad look, man.
It's a bad look, and I get it. That, the college football, they're not looking at the way the NFL is. Like Goodell is very in Trent on are they are they doing too many flags? Like the Jets Bills Monday night game was unwatchable because of the flags and that. If it wasn't for gambling, I mean,
I hear you.
look at people betting over and under in flags. I mean, they're probably like it's a good prop, but it was unwatchable. Besides that, there was some drama toward the end or whatever. Maybe people don't care because it's a one-off game on Monday. I'm not sure, but I know that they can't miss that. They can't miss
No,
that.
no,
It's just bad for it. It wasn't like that play was hidden on a 4 o'clock
no.
Sunday. I mean, we're
He
all
was right
watching
there
the
in front of it.
game.
He was right there.
Yeah, it's
Um,
bad. Now, it worked in my favor. I had the Rams. So does that mean I'm going to get a bad one coming to me? I don't know. You know what was weird about last week's game? I know the Jets are awful. I'm going to talk real briefly about that. That's another bad play I have is I have Jets over, which is just a terrible play. I actually have a flyer on the Jets to win the East, which now it's like you can get 10 to 1. It's just sad how wrong, you know. player coach Aaron Rodgers, I believed in him. But the defense isn't playing well. And what's interesting is that I didn't see any narrative, any talking about his second interception. Like, when is the last time you saw an NFL player, the ball bounces off
Garrett
his
Wilson.
pads in his
Yeah.
hand and it goes the other way and the guy intercepts it?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
if that's baseball, it doesn't count against the pitcher's earned run average.
Right.
Now, there's enough things from not Fangraphs, I'm thinking baseball, but team rankings and things like that, uh, Focus and a lot of sites that look at that. Look at how many interceptions were not his fault. Of course, all handicappers and people that care about things like prof stuff like that care. But I find it that the national media was kind of blaming Rodgers for that. The bottom line is that their defense isn't any good, and Zerline is he okay? How's he not cut?
Yeah. They're
Zerline was
kicking.
great
Kicking's bad
a
across.
few years ago.
I know, but kicking's bad across the league, man. It's bad across the league.
To that point, if it's going to be bad across the league, you would think guys like Antonio Pierce would not, kick field
Kick
goals
field
down
goals.
eight. Some of these guys can't get out of their own way, and it's detrimental. None of these kicks are automatic. But Zerline, God forbid, if he makes the field goal against Denver, you know, they played terribly, but it's a game they could have won. It's
Different.
a
Yeah.
completely
Narrative
different
changes.
narrative. We nobody would be in love with the Jets, but it would be instead of being 2-4, you're sitting there 4-2 or
Big
even three,
difference.
three or whatever. And they're going to win this week. Their schedule's so soft, but is it that soft now? They look like the soft team.
Yeah.
So I lament, because I did have it been over with that. Jets fans are, I mean, you can't say nothing. I mean, they had to live through Walt Michaels and Rich Kotite and all this other crap, but they're in New York, so I don't care that much about them, unless it has to do with my money.
So how about some of these? How about some of these games this weekend? I mean, you got your Eagles, Cincinnati. All of a sudden picking it up offensively, laying two
Yeah,
and a half.
the initial thing for the Eagles was, when the line first popped up late Sunday, uh, and then I'm looking at these things in the middle of the night and whatnot, just saying, okay, where's this? I was actually surprised that the Bronco opening line, I get it, they didn't know who was going to start, and then Dalton gets in a car accident or whatever, and you see sadly, I know that Bryce Young isn't following the lines, but I'm sure he'd be sad to see that Broncos went from a 7.5 point favorite to they're 11 right now, but that line was opened at 7.5, and I opened a bunch of teasers with Denver. So I got some, and then I played it for a little bit. So I got some value there. But the other thing that popped up was, right out of the gate was Bengals too. And there were some 2.5s. You see a little bit of, 3 even, which is basically the same thing. And this is all about because the Bengals can score. I have here written down, yes, I had 2 -105, 2.5 -102. It was the open. And I said, wow, okay. I don't know. I think I expected it to be closer to a pick 'em. And then when I reviewed everything, it's because the Bengals can score,
Hmm.
and teams that can score, they're still, regardless of what their defense is, it's like I love to use boxing references. It's like a guy can knock you out. He's always got a shot to knock you out. But maybe be surprised if this is 38-17. Probably not, because we saw what Tampa Bay was able to do with the Eagles. Uh, uh, the second game off a road trip like they are now. This is the second game off of think of what this is. They played a divisional game
Yeah.
in New York, and now they're going out of conference, which we always like to look at as being, well, is this a kind of a dud for them?
So
But
let's do a little rapid fire. Give me 4 or 5 games. Let's try to spend a minute or so. I'll let you take it, but give me 4 or 5 games that you highlighted that you like this weekend. Some marquee matchups.
I don't think right now Chargers are sitting. There were some 7.5s out there. I
Yep.
took
And
Saints plus
Saints.
7.5. It's back to 7. I like the Saints in the game for almost there's multiple reasons that I have. I'll give you the baseline reason is that for the opposite of what I said about the Bengals, I don't like teams that don't score a lot,
Charge.
winning
Yep.
touchdowns or more, unless you're absolutely the absolute dog poop of the league, which the Panthers and Patriots will probably qualify, but
Giants. Yep.
the Saints do not. I mean, I don't care if they play, Bobby Abear now. I wouldn't give them seven. But so I have the Saints. I did play the Saints. I have uh, I played a little bit on the Miami Dolphins. That lines up to
Getting
four and a
two are back.
half.
Yep.
If that goes any higher, I mean, a couple places at 5.5. Uh, if it goes to like 6, I probably won't do anything. But I definitely don't like Miami at 5.5 or 6. If you can get 4 juiced or 3.5 juiced, I do think it's not because of 2. It's more because of Arizona. They're up and down, hit or miss. Uh, Here's a weird one for you that is I like the Browns this week, and I didn't play it yet, but if I can get now, not 9 is a dead number. 9.5 is just as dead. Uh, but I'll take the 8.5. I'll take the 9. I'll take there's some 9s juiced. I wouldn't play extra juice for it, but if I can get 8.5, I would take 8. I think 8 is okay. There's nothing to do with Winston. Well, it has a little bit to do with Winston. I think if you're going to grade your quarterbacks, he's better than a hurt Watson,
Hmm.
or whatever wrong with Watson. But I also think that this is a kind of game. I don't like conference games like this. I don't think the Browns are as absolutely putrid as they played. If they're putrid, it's really offensively. They got screwed in the Raider game, obviously. There's the kind of things that kind of maybe steamroll sometimes, but I did play the Browns. I like the. I'm going to wait on the Command Skins, which is an interesting game because you know should the Bears be favored against a team that could score? I don't really care that Daniels isn't going to play.
Right. They can
You see what
score.
happened
Yep.
3 quarters of last week. They
Mariota.
can score, and if I think 3 is a decent number here. I did not play it yet, but I think that line will still be there. Come game time or even tomorrow. Uh, the Giants game is another interesting game, and it's going to be not a popular game to play, but I actually like the Giants +6. Uh, I did play it for a little bit because I'm thinking it opened 6.5 someplace. It, what the Giant, what the I don't know what Tomlin is doing to last year was a real crazy situation. I mean, he was doing mirrors was
Yeah.
completely
Yeah.
nuts.
Yeah.
They do play good defense. Uh, they look better with Wilson the second half, but they didn't actually look great in the first half.
No.
So yeah, it's another team that doesn't really light fireworks up. They get good field position with a couple of their interceptions, and
And
the
the Giants
Giants
play
is
much better on the road.
the Giants they look bad against the Eagles,
Yeah.
but uh, they look great in Seattle.
Yeah. And they beat Cleveland
It's just
early
been
on.
like one of these Jekyll Hyde teams. You are at the end when all is said and done, you are the composite of all your teams. You're not what happened last week, unless you had 30 injuries. Look at the Rams last night. Rams look like a different team when everybody's healthy. Uh, and for the last game, I will have the Eagles in teasers, and I'm actually if I get a solid 3. Or more importantly, if I can get a better money line than say, if I can get 1 + 140, I will play the Eagles. And here's why. I sent a tweet out this week. The new girl in class that everybody thinks is cute the last 3 weeks is Green Bay, and it's like everybody forgot about the Brazil game.
Right.
The Eagles were full strength, and they went up and down the field on them. I get it. It's early and the sod and all that, and the field was bad. They both went up and down on each other. But when the Eagles are healthy, they can score. And I think they have a much better defense. I would not be surprised if the Eagles, won some kind of a shootout here. Uh, when a team like the Eagles nationally and locally is playing kind of to their competition. Everybody has the Browns game on their mind, like what the heck's going on? Uh, but the Bengals defense is not the Browns defense. And if everybody's healthy, I expect AJ Brown to go crazy. I think Jamar Chase is going to have some openings too, but uh, I think I like the Eagles in this game, not as much as I like the other games I mentioned, but I am going to play it. Is there anything that you saw? Tampa Bay is interesting. They're going to have no wide receivers, I guess, but I don't think the Falcons are good enough to go in there. So if you like teasers, I would suggest maybe playing. You could play Tampa Eagles.
Yep.
You could mess around and play. I don't like the Ravens in a teaser for
I
reasons.
like the Bills on the road against Seattle. Short
I
notice.
do. If I do too. I hate leans because it's almost like a free roll. If it loses, you can say, I just lean to it. If it wins, you can point to it and say, I like it. But I don't like Seattle in this game. It has nothing to do with injuries. Like I don't know if Metcalf is going to play. Uh, last week, they had the running back
Yep.
out, not a fit, and he played. So I'm
Kid
kind of
Walker.
ignoring. Yeah, did he play? I mean, I
Yeah.
didn't look at their stats because I actually played Seattle last
Yeah.
week.
He
I didn't
ran
care if he
hard.
played or not. I'm kind of on a weird fade on Atlanta. I think that the games that they won early were really, really lucky. They should have lost to Tampa. And when you throw all these kind of stats in, I still don't trust Cousins. I don't care if he throws for 700
Captain
yards or
Kirk.
whatever. And I sure as hell don't trust him as a favorite on the road. Uh, I think no matter who they throw to, I think if you want to do a tease with Tampa and have them get 8.5, I don't think that's a bad way to go. If I was going to play Tampa, I would probably, if I get a solid three, I would play it. If I can get plus 134, plus 135, I'll probably play that too. I think when at the end of the day, that conference, I'm a little worried that no about injuries moving forward. But Tampa is as good a shot as anybody to win that division. I'm just not in love with Atlanta. Uh,
Before I let you get out of here, real quick, got about a minute to go. Baseball World Series, Yanks and the
oh yeah,
Dodgers.
yeah. Almost forgot with the way we started the NBA. Well, uh, a lot of people are focusing on the fact that the Dodgers are a small dog, and here's what they do better. I just think uh, this is a completely bad matchup for the Yankees. Beginning of the year, the Dodgers looked like an absolute super team,
Yep.
and they had the piecemeal
Yep.
their pitching together,
And then San
and
Diego started to wake up and catch them, push them. Yep.
yeah, and I had futures with Padres. I think I mentioned I had a crazy good future because the number was good about them winning the West when they were only four back. And you know what? You got to give the Dodgers credit. They hung on, and then they took what the Padres were doing, and then they didn't score for two full games. And then when the thing is, when the Dodgers get hot hitting, they're going to win games by a lot of runs.
I agree.
So I think
Bunches.
if you want to have what I did, and I think there's something to look at if you want to get some decent return for your bank book. I say pay. I already have Dodgers laying a run and a half. You want to play an alt line, have them minus 2.5. Now it might be a little bit much to ask about doing it against Cole, but he's I don't think he's Sandy Koufax. He's okay. He's good. But is he going to shut teams down? I don't. I think the Dodgers when they're high. I know Freeman isn't 100%, but does it matter? I also I had Betts at 9-1 to win MVP. He's down to like 6-1. If you can get 7-1, I think it's a good play um, as well. But I have some money on actually Dodgers to win in 5 games or less. I'm also going to do a rolling parlay with them game to game, and minus 1.5 runs I have for game one. Game two, I think if you want to get some return and play minus 2.5 runs, I'm going to say that there's some value in that. Now it seems crazy, but I almost think it's like the election, Richie. I think it's the election. Think you have two things. Oh, it's going to be even. It's going to be even. It's going to be even. Look at the odds. Look at the odds. It's so but I think it's a little bit of an aberration. I think the Dodgers will smoke the Yankees. I just think that's what's going to happen. And if you want to look at election odds, I wouldn't be surprised if whoever the winner is wins sweeps the what do you call it, states. In 2016, remember Trump got, once he got Florida, everybody kind of went, well, hold on a second. Because normally Republicans win football. You didn't know Trump was going to win. Then he won PA, then he won Wisconsin, then he won Michigan. And it was like, what the hell's going on? Then he won North Carolina, he won Georgia.
Right.
And a lot of these on the polling are close.
Yeah.
The poly market, they're close too. But I think whoever wins is going to win all of them. And
look at that, a little
so
political.
yeah, either way. Now I want to, I don't get involved in, there's a lot of bias in there. People get really heated, passionate. Whoever side you like, play it all that they sweep.
There you go.
And then if you win,
You
you're
can
happy.
thank the man in his Lions gear, the prop. Give him a follow on X, by the way, at Professor Shine. His appearance from our wonderful friends over at Played Against Sports, 1450
This might end up
Clemson.
being one of my good
Yeah,
futures.
yeah.
Remember last year we had Lions and
Yeah,
Goff.
hey, I
Lions and
know.
Goff. Goff's MVP odds are down to +8, 850, 800. And our first show in August, he was 35 to 1. He was
You
30
have
to
to.
1. He was
This is why
64
they
to
have
1.
to listen to the man with the plan, as we like to say. For
He's
the
right
love of
there.
God, I thought turkeys can fly. So, all right, brother. Hey, I always appreciate a couple moments. Good luck this weekend with the bets. Put a little coin in the pocket. We'll do it again next week, my friend.
All right. Good news.